Welcome to video number 7 on the Roblox Scripting tutorial series. This video I want to go over scopes and errors. So starting with scopes, I'm going to go over the definition. Scope determines the accessibility or visibility of variables and functions in different parts of the code. You can think of it as a boundary that defines where a variable or function can be accessed or modified. Now let me show you what this means. So to give you an example of scopes, first of all, this area that you can see, all this is, you can refer to this as the global scope. Variables made anywhere in here are accessible in all the following scopes. So if this variable is equal to 5, it's made in the global scope and it's accessible anywhere in the script. So then let's say I want to make a function now. Function, do something, and in this function, I make a new variable. New variable is equal to 10. So you will realize that I cannot access new variable outside of this function. This function is a local scope. It's its own scope. And the scope end is marked by the end word. The start is marked by the function. You can see it represented by this line over here on the left side. So if I try to print new variable, you can see it just doesn't recognize it because it's not accessible outside of its own scope. The global scope, like I said, it's accessible. If you make a variable in the global scope, you can access it anywhere. I've accessed variable inside of this local scope. I've accessed variable inside of the global scope. It can be accessed anywhere. But remember, if I want to print variable here in this function, or even if I wanted to print a variable above, I can't instantiate the variable 5. I can't instantiate it below where I want to use it. It has to be above. Because as you guys, I think I've told you, scripts execute procedurally. They start from the top and they work their way down. So it would read variables 5. It would, okay, now we know variable is equal to 5. And then when it comes to line 14, we know what variable is. But if it came down to read line 13, print variable, there's been nothing to tell it variable exists until line 16. Scopes is a pretty short tutorial, so I just want to go over errors as well. Errors, which you guys have definitely come across errors already, but just in case, just so you guys know, I'm just going to go over some things that you may want to know with errors, such as when you click run, your errors will show up in the output. If I get an error here, so say if I'm, scripting level 5, and then I want to print variable. Obviously, I've spelt it wrong on purpose so that it errors. It will error, and now this, what it shows is a nice, I can't make it bigger, right? Is a nice breakdown of how the script has come to error. It starts from the bottom. It says, it's come from script 5, line 5, and then it goes and it's like attempt to call a nil value. It's like, okay, we're trying to call a nil value. And then we have print. Oh yeah, print doesn't exist, so it's trying to call a nil value. That's the same thing because this does not exist and we're trying to call it. So this is this. I fix it and it will work. Print. And that will work, right? And another thing. When you get an error, it will stop the script where you got the error. So you can see it went 5 and then 525, it, printed variable, then it printed new variable. But let's say I get an error here, right? Because I spelled print wrong. It'll just error and then it won't carry on. Now, errors don't always come as errors, right? Errors could be something that you've just coded the code incorrectly. Now, when you start making very complex scripts, you will get these types of errors where you've just coded something illogically and you won't understand why. Now, you could, let's say, for example, to show an example of this, let's say I have some code in here. Code, it does something, right? Um, and it happens inside of an if statement. So here I go, if variable is equal to 6, then run the code. It will run this code if variable is equal to 6. Now let's assume that I thought this script that I was setting the variable to 6. It's a very simplified example, but let's pretend I was stupid, right? And I thought I was putting this variable to 6. And I had this code and I click run. And obviously I start to realize, oh, this code isn't running. Like, why? It should. And then to see, it's like, okay, let's check if the code is running first. So, like I said when I was showing print, print is a very useful thing to debug. I could go print variable, and then I could click run, and I could see, oh, okay, it's not even printing the variable. So that means the if statement condition is returning false. But let's see if it's even checking let's see if it's even checking the if statement. Checked if statement, so I can do another print before the if statement to see if it even gets to that part of the code. Okay, checked if statement, and then it didn't print a variable, so we know there's something wrong with this. And this is when we would, logically go draw it back to, okay, what am I setting variable to? Oh, 5, okay. That's pretty much it for scopes and errors. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Leave a like, subscribe, all that, and I'll see you guys in the next one.